So we start with the recitation of the Guru Puja. Cominciamo con la recitazione della Guru Puja, verso numero 1, verse number 1. Lama Kunjo Sula Kyapsudro, Namo Guru Bhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Guru Bhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Guru Bhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya, Ma Senche Kunge Tunge Chip, Nami Lama Dhar Gyurne Simche Tamche Lama Lai Koban Chola Kubraja, Ma Senche Kunge Tunge Chip, Nami Lama Dhar Gyurne Simche Tamche Lama Lai Koban Chola Kubraja, Ma Senche Kunge Tunge Chip, Nami Lama Dhar Gyurne Simche Tamche Lama Panchola Kuparaja Ma Secentam Chege Tundu Tagi Tsedi Nyurwa Nyurwa Deme Sangye Lama Lai Koba Mantuche Ma Secentam Che Duma Lekre Dechen Sangye Gisala Kuparaja E Chiptu Lamsa Dechu Nyamsu Lamwari La nambara nanche danche te soso nambra chele wampo e donge yeshe gebra chenge be salam pana nange kyantamche yonsu kyabe chinan samle chabin tante chese sange mingya be kawaryu de ton yerme alama yombra kunsan chetin tripe o loma meto trebu yonze dogu pasam jambetse doma barwe rinchen chuge nida gebe kadmin sunte sawe lama sange kungi mawani nambar murmi simbe gelon sheche chani tsumkara dru chaye cheche yomba nyamcha ditsi kamwe lungsen Gurgu namden choku sumsu sezo peshe ulatse Tukara kyabda dorje chawa sheche chani kudomo dorje sune inchu marke Linke dedon rolbege nama rinche genge trishin hatse dage natselu Sembe gende vesere tomba chatso name korbe u Dorje kilprun sulki shukbe pumbo namda deshen Kamshi yungshi keche tsagyo tsingnan chanchu sempa Tabu Rajum Niji Chikon Yala Trovo Wambo Nye Vesra Chogyon Rajin Takurim Shem Mogyo Lama Yidam Kimpura Laso Dan Sangye Jansen Pavo Kadro Tensum Gyatso Korneshu Indra Kosum Dorje Sumse Hunge Vesre Cha Gyue Rashi Nene Yeshe Yerme Sintaragyu So Dele Chumne Tusungi Tsagyu Lama Yidam Kunchosum Pavo Kadro Chogyon Sumso Che Tuje Wange Gishe Tenvashu Chana Rashin Drovo Kundre Yan Nazo Duje Samba Chishindu Chiyan Charwe Kinse Tenleche Gyamro Damba Korche Sheksuso Om Guru Buddha Bodhisattva Dhamma Pala Sapa Viva Teja Hita Umma Yeshe Panantam Sipada Nisu Neparayu Hange Tuje Dewa Chimboye Kusum Gopan Chogyan Kechira Sote Lama Rinchen Tabuku Dorje Chesha Pemura Chaselo Ramjan Gyalwa Kunge Yesheni Kandu Chiyan Chawe Namgecha Murmi Zimbe Kargi Nerowa Kyamgun Dambe Shala Chaselo Yekum Pacha Cheba Plujo Shem Pame Yende Rinchen Tamge Pele Malu Jumwe Gochi Po Jetsun Lame Shala Chaselo Harche Tempa Sange Kungi Mo Gebe Shikon Tamche Jumwe Saso Kungi Runa Lange Wa Rinche Lama Namla Chaselo Tusum Chochur Shupe Lama Da Rinche Tusum Charo Tamche Lechi Mebe Teyan Gyatsoche Shindu Nyambe Luru Chaselo Kyamgun Jetsun Lama Korche La Naso Chodin Gyatso Gurwani Kwele Rinche Vepana Yane Dache Dutse Chushi Dutse Skampo Sima Chumwa Pele Zebe Medo Sada Parnaka Tishi Pege Duba Pendurye Yake Nombo Tige Lalase Nida Nombo Rakara Tomeso Tonso Mise Vese Tsegago Gabo Senden Kurkon Chigope Puchu Choche Kuryo Kumeki Roge Chude Sacha Tuada Nada Mi Shase Lumboku Nazo Romo Chedra Tayeme Yume Danye Gyue Sasome Suda Chiro Rekche Benzipe China Dayon Hama Shukun Sashipeki Chushime Dawe Senge Purjon Shinge Cho Gyalgon Tuje Chela Gurvarage Yedam Guru Ratna Mandala Amniryataya Mashayi Tru Yishin Gatsomo Sishin Namra Leo Chenvendi Tato Gebe Kunge Yidroshin Jikden Jikden Lede Rakshingi Kasum Gebe Meto Chiantra Kunsan Chepe Tisum Bumdroshi Lapso Rinye Lange Tendempe Gatse Jetsun Lama Nichilbul Urmon Dande Samba Tikeche Roge Petzing Geche Tumana Chakyu Nadan Roma Malaso Jandum Barwe Dutse Gatsoch Imo Laso Patsi Chuchushin Debe Gitze Lake Ludrama Shinge Nake Linge Ponye So Zedu Gyume Changya Chide Linge Dewe Yeshe Che Choku Ranshin Tongdan Dewe Yenme Lungru Masam Jole De Tundam Chanchu Semcho Kyola Nyomo Shigya Tsashi Nejurbe Sampo Mingi Chedra Natsoda Kyone Gichirata Trembula Namkara Chisim Basu Suzu Tome Dune Mige Dikfele Gidang Gitse Iran Chiche Pa Tuje Chendren Chemara Gyatsengi Shanshin Lenche Mige Dongwana Chena Ranshin Sema Dangreya Milan Chishin Keba Tamchegi Dega Chirian Charwe Namkranda Daja Samba Tabe Iran Fuljon Genze Chulchin Funtrite Taye Rodi Bende Kuntense Kena Yundo Nedam Pewe Chir Sakye Chegi Charva Aptus Dorje Kula Kechi Minaya Sunju Wangi Gyabo Samato Daja Meba Chishin Site Nyange Mida Tapra Shupsuso Tedra Trumbe Namkra Gewezo Kadrin Sunden Chetsu Lamai Sera Kunto Dreme Jetsenshi Sunju Dorje Chanwa To Shir Mo Yunden Jungre Chirim Gyatso Che Mado Norbu Tsoki Yosunta Murmi Zimba Tuwa Nibeje Nede Duwa Zimba Sowade Kandan Dena Deura Shekbela Tumpra Bebe Yunden Chutempa Malu Gewe Dusum Chokyi Che Tekcho Gewe Shela Sowade Kosun Ledam Lochen Sodendra Yoda Gyume Nadan Gyusheshi Peni Chusun Drita Chekebe Dorje Zimbe Zola Sowade Sangye Dame Chumbe Matulwe Maru Duge Nidu Drowala Deshe Latsan Chishin Tumbai Kyabkon Tuje Chenla Sowade Tupe Nima Duki Nubyute Gongya Mebe Drowa Mambola Gyawe Zeba Nyura Drupzepe Kyabkon Tuje Chenla Sowade Dusum Chuchu Gyawa Tamchela Kangi Babu Buga Chisaya Dacha Sanam Shindu Lengape Kyabkon Tuje Chenla Sowade Deshe Kusum Yengi Koloni Targe Gyuru Drawe Chugele Tame Tsuki Drowa Tretsepe Kyabkon Tuje Chenla Sowade Kyoki Ukan Keche Yenla Nam Deshe Rima Yabyo Sempatan Drowe Wamboran Shin Chosungi Dagi Lama Chola Sowade Kunge Yeshe Reba Lejuwe Kinkon Koro Jewe Danite Rike Kyabda Doje Zimpeso Sumju Dambo Gamba Sowade Jime Lenge Gawe Rebada Yerme Tenyo Kungya Kungita Toma Dade Kunsan Tandangi Chancho Semo Kyola Sowade Kenye Lama Kenye Kenye Kandro Chegyonte Dene Sunde Chancho Bardo Kemi Kyapshe Mitsowe Ilam Bardo Chime Taryan Tuje Chagyu Sumsola Sishi Jigro Mondro Kunso Tengi Kroso Pacho Son Kenye Lama Kenye Yidam Kenye Kandro Chegyonte Dene Sunde Chancho Bardo Kemi Kyapshe Mitsowe Idam Bardo Chime Taryan Tuje Chagyu Sumsola Sishi Jigro Mondro Kunso Tengi Kroso Pacho Son Kenye Lama Kenye Yidam Kenye Kandro Chegyonte Tene Sunde Chanchu Bardo Kyomi Kyapshe Mitsowe Idam Bardo Chime Taryan Tuje Chagyu Sumsola Sishi Jigro Mondro Kunso Tengi Kroso Pacho Dedraya Lenson Sowa Tabe Tu Lame Kusun Tuki Nenamle Dutsu Veser Karmara Tinka Sun Rinda Chikchara Chune Dani Nesu Rinda Chikchara Timbale Tripshi Tapchi Namda Wanshito Kushi Tapchi Lama Nibashi Geshin Timbe Chiki Lama Verse 84, verso 84. Chincho Damba Jetsun Lama La Chechin Kube Sawa Tabetu Dele Sawa Kombo Ketingi Geshe Chetsu Sipra Jingelo Lenche Tsamshi Nyebe Dechuradi Nyega Nyurto Jipe Tsutone Dome Tsedi Chave Mie Waratende Nimbo Lembra Jingelo Geson Dunge Parwe Mejigne Nigne Koncho Sula Kyandroshi Dikbon Getso Dada Drupala Tsumba Lulen Chepra Jingelo Lelan Yomon Balon Tradu Tru Duma Sunge Kyushi Mapose Tame Jirun Sitso Chimbole Targa Shutra Kyora Jingelo Soka Sora Grave Korvadi Gave Setra Tume Lopani Lapson Pave Nongi Zosunte Tarpe Gyaltsen Sipa Jingilo Nyamda Drova Digun Dagima Yaya Jingi Kyampe Susane Dupe Pula Tsewe Mashindu Chami Ninje Kyora Jingilo Dune Tramo Tsamya Midöchi Nela Namya Chokshe Bebrani Dada Shela Kebra Yomi She Shende Gawa Kebra Jingelo Rani Chepa Zimbe Chongne Di Midö Duma Gebe Gyurtone Lele Dela Kontu Sunchete Datsin Döchen Chombra Jingelo Manam Cheson Dela Gobelo Taye Yunde Juwe Gordone Trova Dida Dage Talakyan Sole Chebra Zimbra Jingelo Dona Jibarando Konada Tuban Shindo Pashin Zebai Yoda Yunde Yawa Topelo Tashe Nyamche Nubra Jingelo Rani Chesi Kuba Kungego Mana Chesi Yunde Kungishi Dechi Dachen Chewe Nachola Nyamle Nimbu Chebra Jingelo Jena Jetsu Lama Tuche Chen Magyu Drove Digrib Dumaku Malu Tata Tala Mipada Dagi Denge Shela Tawai Drogun Dela Dembra Jingelo Tena Jetsu Lama Tuche Chen Magyu Drove Digrib Dumaku Malu Tata Tala Mipada Dagi Denge Shela Tawai Drogun Dela Dembra Jingelo Tena Jetsu Lama Tuche Chen Magyu Drove Digrib Dumaku Malu Tata Tala Mipada Dagi Denge Shela Tawai Drogun Dela Dembra Jingelo Nöchu Dibe Drepo Yongante Mitu Duma Charta Bakyuro Linge Drebu Sebe Gyurtone Kene Landu Lora Jingelo Dona Sange Nawa Chishayan Choku Nimbo Tomne Nyamlengi Janchu Semni Bewe Lamgirote Yide Bashi Gomra Jingelo Jorwa Shidan Dembe Tapkeki Trela Kanto Gomla Jorwana Lojo Tanse Lapche Nyamlengi Dejo Demchen Chepa Jingelo Tone Lula Gyurbe Chumde Chen Chanda Ninche Ape Sambai Drona Sitso Chele Drove Chile Chancho Semni Chomora Jingelo Tusum Gyawa Kungi Drochi Lam Nanda Gyase Domba Gyudamshi Tekcho Sudrin Sumgi Nyamle La Tsomba Durlen Chebra Jingelo Yuna Locho Tusum Geso Che Semche Raran Debe Gyurute Chame Donsen Pewe Menagi Jimbe Panchen Lobsang Chokyi Gyaltsen Sama Domba Ye Chesan Sogi Chirya Mide Ching Gecho Dudan Semche Dungrupe Sudrin Panchen Lobsang Jingelo Kamsong Kegu Malu Trugurute Shishin Sandro Dikshin Sokcho Kyam Midro Nole Pemba Druje Be Sobe Panchen Lobsang Jingelo Semche Rere Chirya Narme Pe Mena Keba Gyatso Negu Kyam Ninje Mikyo Chanchu Chosam Pe Sundru Panchen Lobsang Jingelo Igo Nambra Yewe Kyombane Nyambe Chirgu Dembe Tombe Nelola Tsechi Nyamra Jobe Tinzingi Sante Parchin Zopra Jingilo Yegi Soso Tope Sheraki Rabe Shinjan Dechen Dandrewa Tunda Nyamsha Namge Nejuragi Shera Parchin Zopra Jingilo China Chuna Gyuma Milan Dan Dambe Tsonan Dasun Chishintu Chinian Deba Mebe Tsutone Gyume Tinzin Zopra Jingilo Guardera Shiduzza Meba Dan Gyure Tendre Lua Mebani Penso Game Trosu Cherpani Ludru Gondo Zopra Jingilo Tene Doje Zimbe Tebengi Tile Gyude Gyatso Chigete Modru Tsawa Damsi Dombana Sole Chebra Zibra Jingilo Keshi Badu Gewa Kusundu Gyurwe Rimba Tambo Nejodi Tame Nashen Trima Kunjante Kana Lakur Charwa Jingilo Inge Dabge Beauty Udabdu Gonkyo Shapsen Kroba Lejuma Vese Gyulu Sundu Jubelam Sedi Mundu Gyurwa Jingilo Lama Mashin Chumwe Dujena Senta Tsangya Lame Powani Toma Yandan Jarwe Damnagi Tape Shindu Drobra Jingilo Dorna Keshin Kewa Tamjedu Gombo Kyoge Dralme Jesune Kusun Toge Sawa Kunzimpe Segi Tur Gyurwa Jingilo Gongyo Kanto Mombra Sangebe Korgi Tomani Do Dagirote Neka Kartu Gondo Maluba Eme Lunge Trube Tashi Sangye Chada Tsugi Chanam La Chancho Bardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dangi Chishe Gibe Sanam Gi Drola Pinchire Sangye Drupara Shu Sangye Chada Tsugi Chanam La Chancho Bardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dangi Chishe Gibe Sanam Gi Drola Pinchire Sangye Drupara Shu Sangye Chada Tsugi Chanam La Chanchu Bardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Chushe Gibe Sunam Gi Drola Pinchire Sangye Drupara Shu. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge unto enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sangha prendo rifugio fino all'illuminazione. Con la pratica della generosità e delle altre perfezioni possa io ottenere lo stato di Buddha per il beneficio di tutti gli esseri senzienti. Buongiorno. Good morning. Oggi, come ieri, questi prossimi giorni, gli insegnamenti li farò in inglese, quindi per chi non capisce l'inglese ci sarà la traduzione simultanea che oggi la Luciana lo fa gentilmente, quindi chi ha bisogno delle cuffie per sentire la traduzione, adesso qua Maria se li può dare le cuffie alle persone, così abbiamo 2 minuti per organizzare le cuffie. Just give a few minutes just to organize the simultaneous translation for those that need the translation.
Mentre diamo un attimino, 2 minuti per organizzare le cuffie, faccio solo la recitazione del testo che andremo a leggere oggi in tibetano, così non serve traduzione. I just do first the transmission and the recitation of the text that we will be going through these days, while we organize for the translation, a few minutes. Lojong Tsigye Mashus. Dala shengi trato ki shikura la so mirikpe kyunga rangi lemba dang gyalka shela bulwara shung kanla dagi pentaga pam rewa chewa kanshi ge shindu mire neche nang shenye tamba tawara sho dornam dan gyubayi pende manama kula bula mi nedan dunga kun sanwe dala lembra sho teda kungyan chögegi tokpe time mabakshin chukun gyumra shebelo sheme chingwa le chulo shon. Okay. So, as we said yesterday, there are basically, we could divide the ways of living our life in 2 different main directions. One direction is a direction in which we have no actual real objective in life. It's a direction in which our main objective in life is basically to survive in a comfortable way. Somehow to have a comfortable life. When what we want in life basically is just to live our life as most comfortable as possible, with less suffering as possible, with the maximum of pleasure as possible. But our life, it's not a way to reach something higher. It's just, how to say, a goal by itself. So It's when we are not able to see our life as a mean to reach something that goes beyond ourselves, that transcends our own selves. And if we look around of us, that's actually quite common. Maybe in our own lives, maybe in the lives of those that are around of us. If we look very often, and nowadays this is even more strong, it is this very strong idea of, you know, happiness is just to have a life with not so much effort. The less effort, the better. The more comfort, the better. So somehow, if I'm able to avoid as much suffering as I can, if I'm able to have as much pleasure as I can, then everything is fine. So we don't have this wish of going even higher. And this is something that in Buddhist teachings, Buddha have talked about this, which is this life of simple survival. And Genlakpala, one of my teachers, he used to tell me many times about this. As I said yesterday, making the example of the cow, saying that if we live this life for simple survival, there is no difference between us and a cow. In the moment that the cow avoids suffering, and the cow looks for pleasure. You know? If we just do the same, we are just a little bit more elaborated in our way of looking for pleasure and avoiding suffering. And it's not only that, even if we look to other philosophers of other traditions, and in many different places, they also, often they talked about such aspects also. And even in our Western culture, some modern philosophers, they were talking that one of the dangers of our modern society was the fact of having no more objective, of just living a life of comfort. Just when one's own objective is simply to have, let's say, comfortable life, to avoid suffering, when we don't see a higher purpose with our own life. So what is the problem of this type of lifestyle, if we ask ourselves? No, because we say, okay, but maybe I'm happy with that, then it's wonderful. Because if we are happy, then it's fine. But what I have seen, personally, is that if we put on one side the, let's say, comfortable, pleasure-looking, suffering-avoiding life, and on the other side we put those that see this life as a mean to reach a higher goal. And this higher goal can be in many different ways. This higher goal can be within a religion. This higher goal can be like for the environment. It can be a social system. You know, there were people that dedicated their lives for something that was beyond their own lives, which for example, in a social political system, some people dedicate within a higher spiritual objective in many different ways. Some people dedicate their life with a higher objective for the well-being of our human race, within the development of science. There are different ways in which we can dedicate our life for something higher than ourselves. And once we do that, if we look well and we see both of the people, actually those that have a higher purpose, finally their life, when they really have this purpose clear, for me what I have seen is that their life is better. Because what happens is that when we have no higher purpose, and we are even able to gain everything that somehow we wanted, so we have a comfortable life, we have pleasures, we are able to avoid most of the forms of suffering, but still we are not happy. Still there is anxiety, still there is fear, still there is suffering. And someone may ask me, oh, but does that mean that when we have a higher purpose, we will have no more anxiety, we will have no more suffering? Not necessarily. Okay? But what happens is that when we have a higher purpose, that anxiety, that suffering is not a big deal. Because I am walking in the right direction. I am living my life for something that is higher than just my own self. Okay? So, the only way of us developing a higher purpose is first listening to it, looking at it, believing in it, and then desiring it. That's the only way. So one of the higher purposes that Buddha has taught us is the higher purpose of helping others. Is the higher purpose of dedicating our own life to be able to help others in a better way. And this higher purpose is what is so-called enlightenment, or liberation from samsara on another level. But if we'll use other words, as we were saying yesterday, we could say that to reach a healthy state of mind, to reach a healthy mind. Because I'm not going to repeat all we said yesterday, but making it short. Our external conditions are important in this life. Our body, we are influenced by the body, we are influenced by the environment, by the conditions. But most of all, our state of happiness or suffering is influenced by our own mind. A healthy mind, it's well, it's in balance, it's in harmony, even when the external conditions are bad. An unhealthy mind, it's in deep suffering, even when all the conditions around are wonderful. Okay. So as our supreme goal, let's call it supreme, but our more than supreme goal, our fundamental goal of all of us is to be happy and to avoid suffering. What is the greatest way of us to do that? Or actually the only way, is to develop a healthy mind. Because having or not having a healthy mind is not something that will depend on something outside from us. Our mind, as the great master of this Kadampa tradition, of the teachings of Lojong, Geshe Chekawa, he said, the mind has many faults. The mind has many defects, but it has one great quality. Whatever you teach, it follows. So this means that basically the direction that we give to our mind, it follows. That's the way how to transform it. That's the way how to develop it. By showing the direction and following it, and then gradually the mind will follow that direction. So the question to put to ourselves is, do I want or do I do not want to have a healthy mind? If I make this question to you, most probably you will ask me back, what is a healthy mind? Because how can we wish for something that we don't know what it is? Okay. Basically, to wish for something, we need good publicity. Because look at the material world. When someone tries to sell us something, they talk about its qualities in many ways. We don't know it really precisely. We have never used it, we have never touched it. We don't know its real detailed qualities, but somehow we want it. Why? Because we are taught about its qualities and the benefits of it and so on. Okay? So, let's just, before we enter into the method how to develop a healthy mind, just once again, try to describe some aspects of a healthy mind. Okay? And as I describe them, let's just try to imagine ourselves in our lives with that qualities. It's just like if you look at the publicity of a car and you imagine yourself driving the car, going to work or whatever. Or if you see the publicity of clothes and you imagine yourself wearing that clothes. Or if you see the publicity of whatever, of food, and you imagine yourself eating that food or whatever. Now you listen to the publicity of a healthy mind and just imagine yourself in your life with a healthy mind. How it would be. Okay? So first of all, a healthy mind is in a constant state of satisfaction, where deep inside there is this fulfillment. There is no any empty hole where we try to fulfill constantly by gaining more things. There is this deep state of satisfaction. A healthy mind is not in conflict with the world, independently of the conditions and the situations. A healthy mind is in harmony with everyone and everything. A healthy state of mind is a state in which we do not get stuck into the problems, but we always look for a solution. And we have deep trust that we will find the solution and we will be able to overcome the difficulty. Okay. A healthy state of mind is a state in which we are never into the defensive mode and we are never into the attack mode. And we are never victims of the world. But we just see ourselves as one part in a complex interdependency. And we simply interact with everyone with harmony. Within a healthy state of mind, we do not expect reality to be what it is not. In a healthy state of mind, we do not suffer out of expectations. In a healthy state of mind, we have this deep satisfaction as a result of being in harmony with reality. And we are in harmony with each and every one. And in such a healthy state of mind, there is no much distinction between what we do for ourselves and what we do for others. There is this deep sense of connection with each and every one. Okay. As a consequence of that, in a healthy state of mind, there is no suffering. There is no unpeacefulness, no anxiety, no fear, no conflict. So the question is, do we want to have a healthy state of mind or not? Okay? It's like the example that I gave many times of if we meet the Aladdin, no? The genius of the lamp. Okay? Let's imagine that we go to somewhere and then suddenly we get a vase, no? And then we rub the vase and comes out the genius. And the genius offers us, it's not a normal genius, it's like instead of giving us 3 wishes, he allows us to make a choice between 2 possibilities. And the first possibility, the genius tells us, imagine everything you would like materially. Okay, and let's try to imagine it. Let's imagine what we would like to have physically, how we want our body to be. We want our body to be younger, we want to be more tall, or thin, or fat, or short, we want to be a man, we want to be a woman, whatever. Okay? Whatever we want to change in our body, we get it. Materially, how much money we want. Okay, you want to have as much money that you are not able to count it. You don't want to have so much money, you want to have the bank itself. There you are. Houses, anything materially you want, you get everything. So just try to imagine. Everything that I would like, how could it be? People around us. People that we like, people that we love, people that are kind to us. Just imagine, and you get everything. What type of job we want, what type of position we want in society. Okay, we can imagine everything, and then we can just get it in an instant. But with these genius things, there is always a but in the end. No? We do not, the genius say, I can give you the first choice, I can give you everything materially, but I cannot change your mind. So, your anxiety, your insatisfaction, your fears, your anger, your traumas, you keep it. On the second choice, the genius says, second possibility is that you will keep everything that you have materially, just as it is. I cannot change your body, I will not change your wealth, I will not change your position, your company, but I will change your mind. I will give you satisfaction, I will give you compassion, love, wisdom. I will take away your anger, your insatisfaction, your fears. I will take away from you your ignorance. In other words, I will give you a healthy mind. Which one would we choose from the two? And sometimes people come to me and they say, can't I have both? When we want both, it's because we do not trust the second. That's the truth. If we look deep inside of us and we say, yes, I would like to have a healthy mind, but with money it would be better. This means that truly we do not trust it. Okay? So, then the question that comes is, in my life, what is my objective, or even better, what do I struggle for? To gain the first or to gain the second? Okay? So, if we analyze a little bit well, we will get to the conclusion, at least that's my conclusion, which for me is the most obvious. Someone will say the other way around, but for me it's like that. That the best way is to have a healthy mind. It's not to have richness and power and position and everything else. Because I have seen so many people with a lot of richness, with a lot of power, with a lot of importance in society and so on, and still suffering a lot. And I also have seen people that had no money, simple people, but with a quite healthy mind. And they were happy. So, basically, the question is, what do we want? And in the moment that we say, yes, I do want a healthy mind, okay, then we need to work for it. It's not obvious. We need to struggle for it. We need to put effort for it. And in the process of developing a healthy mind, such a healthy mind, it has two aspects that it needs to develop, which we normally call method and wisdom. Okay? Which in other words is love and wisdom. On one side, a healthy mind is a mind that is connected deeply to its own heart and feelings, with harmony. No, a healthy mind is a mind that has harmony between conceptual thoughts and emotions. And it has an open heart. So, on one side, we need to develop love, compassion, generosity. We need to develop the part of which so-called method, but it's all coming from love. And on the other side, we need to develop wisdom. Okay? So we will start with the first aspect, which is developing love. So, a strong sign of an unhealthy mind is strong selfishness. The more we are obsessed with the I and the mine, the more our main priority is just myself, the more our mind is sick. Okay? I think this is it's a very good point to start from. And some people may say, oh, that cannot be true. But actually, if we really look well, like in the text which we will look later, the 7 points mind training, it says, "Lelen tamche chiklada." All faults should be pointed at, all sufferings, all faults should be pointed at one main cause, which is finally our own selfishness. Because what happened is that because of this obsession with the I and the mind, we see the whole world divided into actually 9 categories. And we relate to the world within that. And that this also shows us the way how it is, how to say, this unhealthy state of mind. Basically what happened is like this. Anything or anyone that relates to us in a way that we see as a cause of happiness becomes our friend. We have attraction. Anyone that is a friend of our friend, it's also our friend. Okay? Then we have on the other side, anybody that harms us, we see it as an enemy. Friend means attraction, enemy means aversion. So anybody that is beneficial to me, I have attraction, is a friend. Anyone that is harming me is my enemy. And anyone that is not harming or benefiting me, I am indifferent. Okay? We can see this example, for example, if we are walking on a road, on the city, for example. Many people coming, and then suddenly come 3 people in our direction that we have never seen before. One we think is beautiful, the other we think is ugly, and the other is nor beautiful or ugly. Do we have the same attitude towards the 3, or we have attraction, aversion, and indifference? Towards the one that is beautiful, we have attraction. Towards the one that we think is ugly, aversion. And towards the one that is not ugly or beautiful, we have indifference. So even from that specific, very basic point of view of aesthetics, of appearance, we already generate like that. Because this person is beautiful to me, that person is ugly to me. So we are already having that type of reaction. So, we have friend, enemy, indifference. Then we have another 3, which is the friend of our friend is our friend. So the first 3 is those that are benefiting ourselves is our friend. Those that are benefiting our friends are our friends. And those that are harming our enemies are our friends. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And that's a crazy thing if we really think about it, but that's very much present in our lives. Even when we look people relating to each other, if we want to connect with someone, very often the best way to connect to the person is finding a common enemy, more than finding a common friend. And having common enemies creates much more connection than having common friends very often. Okay? Then we have those that harm us are our enemies. Those that harm our friends are our enemies. And those that benefit our enemies are our enemies. The friends of my enemies are my enemies. And also this is very much present in our lives. Even nowadays where we see politics and the social life so much polarized, this becomes very clear. When we have 2 polarized visions, like in politics, you have 2 parties, and then suddenly you are not in my party, you are my enemy. Okay, so we relate based on this. And then we have the next 3, which is very simple. You are not benefiting or harming me, you are not benefiting or harming my friend, and you are not benefiting or harming my enemy, so I am indifferent. So this makes what we call the 9 objects of relationship, which is a result of selfishness. Because what is the only difference that makes someone a friend or an enemy? How that person relates to the I and the mind. And by making this division of friend and enemy, we react with attraction, attachment, jealousy, envy, anger, aversion, hatred, aggression. And we suffer. Okay? The next aspect of such selfish mind, which is, let's say, unhealthy mind. Let's think about only the category friend, for example. This happens with all categories. But even with the category friend, this next aspect of the selfish mind, it's manifested both as friends, enemies, or indifferent. Okay? Towards those, let's start with the friends, but it's the same for all categories. Towards those that have less than us, we act with arrogance. You are less beautiful than me, you have less rich than me, you have less intelligent than me, you are less humble than me. You know? Whatever way we look at the other, thinking that he's less something, how do we act upon that? With selfishness. No, sorry, with arrogance. When we see someone that have more than us, you are more beautiful than me, you are more intelligent than me, you are more respected than me, you are more rich than me, you are more loved than me, we act with envy. And towards those that is beautiful as me, is rich as me, is intelligent as me, is loved as me, is respected as me, how do we react with? Competition. So basically we never relax. Because even if it's a friend, and okay, it's already benefiting me, so it's in the category of friend, but has something more than me, I am envy. Have something less than me, I am superior. And together with pride and arrogance comes fear. That's amoghasiddhi connected. Because what happens is that if I have more than you and this makes me special, I have the fear to lose that, because then I will not be anymore that special. So what happens is that again we cannot relax. And when I see that we are in the same position, again I cannot relax because I need to have more. And I cannot allow myself to be less. So, can we see this mechanism in ourselves? You know, to recognize this mechanism of friend, enemy, indifferent, and we also put ourselves into the mechanism of arrogance, with pride and arrogance, envy, and competition. And it's extremely tiring. So, what is in common in all these attitudes is the fact of being constantly comparing oneself with others. The unhealthy mind, the selfish, unhealthy mind, is not able to see oneself without comparing it to others. We judge ourselves through the judgment of others. Like one sign of an unhealthy, selfish mind is criticism and rejoicing in the suffering of others. Okay? And if we look in the society in which we live, what do we have more? Bad news or good news? But we don't need to look at the news, oh, this is because that's the problem that we have a violent media and the newspaper is bad and the televisions are bad and they are evil. No. The newspapers and the companies, they are not evil. They are just a reflect of our minds. That's all. Because forget about newspapers and news channels and all of that. Put a group of people together. What will be the news about? The good things that happen or the bad things that happen? What is our tendency to talk about the qualities of others or about the faults of others? Some people say, oh, but it's not fun to talk about the qualities of others. It's more fun to talk about their defects. Why? Because we are selfish. Because we judge ourselves through the comparison with others. So when we see the faults of others, we see ourselves as being superior. It brings our own identity up. So, hey, look how weak that person is. Look how bad that person is. Oh, look how much he's not doing that well. Or look at this and that. We look at the faults. We look at the suffering of others. We look at the defects of others. And by that, we feel somehow that we are better. When we see the qualities of others, oh, look how happy he is. Look what a beautiful family he has. Look how healthy she is. Look what a wonderful job they are doing. Or whatever thing that we look, I am not doing enough. I am not good enough. I am not well enough. I am not beautiful enough. I don't have a good family. I am not good in my job. That's how we work in this unhealthy, selfish way of being. Is it clear?
Yes.
So, basically, why bad news sells so much? Because it makes us to feel better. Why? Because we are unhealthy. And we are selfish. Okay. So, there is no conspiracy theory here of the evil media that wants to control the world or anything like that. There is just the manifestation of an unhealthy society. It is made by unhealthy minds. That's all. That's how I see it. So, for our own selves, we need to look at ourselves in that. This selfish way of being, through which we live ourselves by comparison to others constantly, it creates a big hole, a big empty space inside of us. That it doesn't matter how much we put, it's never enough. Because we are looking in the wrong direction. So, what happens is that another sign of an unhealthy mind is that we are constantly trying to fill our insatisfaction with temporary pleasures. And we are trying to forget about our sufferings and to fill up with temporary pleasures. That's what we are constantly doing. Okay? So, if we look at this unhealthy state of mind, which is actually being the fundamental aspect of this unhealthy mind, is selfishness, and the real cause of the unhealthy mind is ignorance. But we are not going to go through ignorance right now. Okay? Ignorance we will look later. The next days we will go through ignorance. Because we have two antidotes. Love and compassion. Love, compassion in one side, and we have wisdom on the other. Okay? So wisdom is the antidote for ignorance, and love and compassion is the antidote for selfishness. Selfishness is the main cause of our suffering. It's through selfishness that our suffering manifests, the unhealthy state that generates suffering manifests, and the real cause, the deepest cause of selfishness is ignorance. Okay? But we will start first dealing with selfishness. Okay? First of all, because selfishness is something that we can deal with selfishness in a more direct way in our daily life. It's somehow more easy also to deal with it. And we need to do with both. And we will follow also, we start here with the text of Geshe Lanren Tampa Dorje Sengye, the 8 verses of mind training, in which it starts first to deal with selfishness. So, our mind, as was said before, has this beautiful quality that whatever we teach, it follows. And within that, what does it mean to train our mind? It means, are we healthy right now? Do we have a perfectly healthy mind? Me not. Trying. But we are on the way. But do we have a perfectly healthy mind? No. So how can we train ourselves to have a perfectly healthy mind? We induce ourselves to healthy states of mind, so that gradually we get used to that states of mind, and then gradually our mind generates that states in a natural, spontaneous way. So, our mind has the ability that whenever we generate one state of mind, we are blocking at the same moment the opposite state of mind. It's just like wherever there is light, there cannot be darkness. So if there is a room that is completely dark, and I bring light into that room, the darkness cannot be there at the same time. So if there is a thought, or if I bring the darkness in, the light cannot be there anymore. It's like there are some thoughts that or we have one or we have the other, but they cannot coexist. Okay? So, within that, we have states of mind which are basically, for example, the love and compassion in an altruistic way cannot coexist with the selfish state of mind. Or we have the selfish mind, or we have the loving, compassionate, altruistic mind. They cannot coexist at once. And the other aspect of our mind is not that we generate one time a loving, kind mind and then it's forever. No. We need to generate it again and again, again and again, again and again, until it gradually becomes more and more present. And the other part of our mind, which is the selfish mind, becomes weaker and weaker until it doesn't have any more strength, until the habit is gone. Because our mind works on a sort of based on habits. Okay? So, this text, which is a very strong, a very powerful text, which was written by Geshe Lanren Tampa in the 11th century, comes from a tradition which arrived in Tibet through the great master Atisha in the 11th century, beginning of the 11th century. And Geshe Lanren Tampa, he was born in the 1054, which was the same year that the great master Atisha passed away. And he was a disciple of the disciples of Atisha. Okay, so if I remember well, mainly Geshe Potoa was one of his main masters. Anyhow, Atisha was a master coming from India. He received the teachings both from India and from Indonesia, and from one master which was called the master of Suvarnadipa. And Atisha was one of the most important masters in our history. Now, not going to go through his whole life history now, but was really a special master. And Geshe Lanren Tampa, he dedicated his whole life actually to practice and develop mainly bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the inner state of mind in which not only we love others, but we believe in our own selves. Because it's not a simple matter of developing love towards others, it's developing self-confidence that we can do something for them. So it's not abandoning oneself and taking care of others. It's actually believing in oneself in order to take care of others. Okay? It's a big difference here. So, these 8 verses are maybe one of the most famous verses in the history of Tibetan Buddhism. And they are cherished and venerated by all traditions of Tibetan Buddhism. And they are very powerful. Like Geshe Chekawa, which was an important master who wrote a 7-point mind training, his whole life changed because of these 8 verses when he first read them. Okay? So in these verses, basically what is done is it's not a text to explain something to us, but it's a text to help the reader to induce oneself into a certain state of mind. Is to remember oneself and to induce oneself into a certain state of mind. Okay? So what is the state of mind that we need to induce ourselves here? It's a state of mind of love, of kindness, as an opposite state of mind to the selfishness. Okay? So let's start with the first verse. So we are, I just advise those that would like, we have this in the small booklet we did some time ago. And so we have the text here. So maybe afterwards, those that like, we can take the text that we have here. Okay. For me, this little booklet is one of the most precious things I own. Basically, I put inside here, for me, one of the most special, how to say, texts that I have ever read. Like, if I needed to give a price to it, I would take everything that I have, all the money that I have, that is not that much, but would multiply it by 1,000 and still would not be enough to pay the value of this. You know? And it's very special. So here in this booklet we have first the jewel garland of the Bodhisattva, the 8 verses of mind training, the 7-point mind training, and the medicine to vomit the inner tumor of selfishness. And okay, the last text, I just say this is like not allowed for minors. In the sense that it's a little advanced text of self-criticism, that it's basically, once you have already understood a little bit more of the previous text and have some experience within the Dharma, then you go through that text. Otherwise you can get a little bit not to the right understanding. Okay? Anyhow, we will go through the 8 verses of mind training. May I cherish all limited beings by considering how far superior they are to wish-granting gems for actualizing the supreme aim. So this first verse means, may wherever I be, whoever I meet, may I cherish them. So, how can we cherish everyone? How can we love everyone? Everyone means those that are benefiting us, those that are harming us, and those that are indifferent to us. How can we love them? First thing, we need to see them. First thing, we need to open ourselves to see them. And someone may say, oh, but how can I do that? It's too difficult to love everyone. How can I develop that thought? And then actually, very often I see that there is this, not worry, but this attitude of, I cannot develop bodhicitta, I cannot develop love towards all because it's something much greater than what I can reach. I am not able truly to open my heart towards others. I'm not really able to love others independently of what they do or where they are and so on and so on. I don't have that ability. So, actually, we all have this ability, and we don't need to go to look so far. Let's do a sort of exercise, okay? First of all, we need to recognize within our own selves a deep force that we have, a strength, a force that we all have. That is the desire of being happy and the desire to avoid suffering. Okay? For ourselves. Like we are moved in every action we do, in every choice we make, we are moved by this force. Can we recognize that? That on everything that we do, deep inside there is this strong force, I want to be happy and I don't want to suffer. So basically there is this strong force of attraction towards happiness and aversion towards suffering. And we all have it deep inside ourselves. So first step, recognize that within oneself. See how everything that we do, we are moved by this strong force of the wish to be happy and the wish not to suffer. Okay? Then we just focus on it. We concentrate on it for a little bit of time. Just try to recognize it within yourself. Without judgment, without explanations. Just look at this deep, fundamental wish to be happy and not to suffer. There is a force that is within us. And that is on the basis of every action we do, of everything that we do. So first we just recognize that. We try, it's like grabbing it with our hands. We need almost to be able to touch it, to grab it with our own hands. Now, we take that same force and we simply expand it. We do not take it away from ourselves. We just take that same wish to be happy that we have and we share it with someone else. So in the same way, I want to be happy, I want you to be happy. But it's that same force that we have, that we, instead of keeping it just closed within ourselves, we expand it towards others. It's the same strength that I don't want to suffer, the same aversion I have towards my suffering, I have towards your suffering. The same attraction I have towards my happiness, I have towards your happiness. We just take that same force, that same energy, the same desire that we have within ourselves, and we share it. We expand it towards others. And the more we expand towards others, the stronger it becomes for our own selves. We are not taking it away from us. We are not sacrificing our happiness. We are not bringing us, we are not, undermining our suffering. We are just sharing with others that same thought that we already have. That simple, basic, fundamental wish to be happy and not to suffer. Attraction to happiness, aversion to suffering. We just take that same identical thought and we expand it. Okay? That's how we love others. We don't need to go to look for something outside from us. It's not like, oh, I need to develop great compassion, where do I get it? Okay? The only difference between selfishness and altruistic mind of great love and compassion is the direction. Selfishness and altruism, they have the same nature of having attraction to happiness and aversion to suffering. The main difference is that in selfishness, all that energy is blocked within the I and the mind. And in an altruistic mind, it is expands towards the rest. It's unblocked. But it's the same attitude. It's the same energy somehow. Okay? It's actually quite, for me, the first time I understood that, it was quite shocking to see that there is not so much difference between altruism and selfishness. The only difference is the direction of the same thing. The same aversion towards suffering and attraction towards happiness. It depends if it's only directed to myself or if it's also shared with others. That's the main difference. So once I'm able to share it with others, this will allow myself to go beyond that my own state of selfish suffering, and will gradually bring myself to a healthier state of mind. So here, the first verse starts, may I love, may I cherish, may I care for all sentient beings, for everyone, whoever they are. And by considering each and every one that I meet, it doesn't matter who they are. We're not talking here about the attitude, may all beings have happiness and its causes, which is one of the most beautiful prayers we can make. But sometimes we may think, may all beings have happiness and its causes. We generate a sort of idealized love towards others, which is not in our heart, it's only in our head. Why it's not in our heart? Because we say, I love all with the exception of 5. I love everyone, but with the exception of that person that harms me here, that other person that does me that, It's like one of my friends, he used to make a joke about this, which he used to say, may all sentient beings, it was in Italian the way he said, so it fits better with the language, but he was saying, may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. Let's remember that my boss is not sentient. Okay? So, this is a way of saying, if I exclude anyone, I am excluding everyone. Okay? Because very often what we call love is just attraction for our own happiness. Very often, I love you because you are a means for my own happiness. Because why do we love a person or why do we hate a person? We love when the person is a cause of our happiness. We hate when a person is a cause of our suffering. So actually we are not loving anyone. We are just manifesting our own selfishness. Which means, yes, I love you, I want you to be happy as a means for my own happiness. In the moment that you are not anymore a means for my own happiness, then I don't love you anymore. It's quite low, right? When we look at these attitudes clearly, somehow we may feel ashamed of it, say, am I really like that? Hopefully not always. But we still have that. So, let's try to start by not wanting to love others from a conceptual way. Because very often we do this exercise by thinking, oh, I love everyone, and we go mentally. Okay? Let's start this training not by doing a mental process of thinking, oh, I must love others from a conceptual point of view, with an idealized idea of ourselves that we will be a better person if we love all. But instead, let's just make this exercise of recognizing within ourselves this strong energy, this strong desire of attraction towards happiness, aversion towards suffering, and then we just share it with others, without needing to enter into the judgment of who they are, what they do. We just open it and we let it expand. Okay. This allows us to go beyond our own selfishness, and that's why here it says, may I love and cherish every sentient being by recognizing that they are far superior to a wish-fulfilling gem. The wish-granting gem is a metaphor for, let's say, $1 billion account, which in our days would be something that can fulfill any material desire. Okay? So, if someone comes to us and they say, we have the possibility to gain, okay, you go outside and suddenly you get $1 billion. Are we happy about it? I suppose, yes. Even 10,000, we don't need to go to 1 billion or 1,000. But that would not be a wish-fulfilling gem. Wish-fulfilling gem means like any material desire I have, I can fulfill it through it. Okay? But what's the point? The wish-fulfilling gem can fulfill any material desire, but cannot bring us true happiness. While other sentient beings, by allowing us to love them, by their own existence, they don't need to do much towards us actually, but by giving the possibility of us loving them, they allow us, they give us the opportunity to go beyond our own selfishness, and by that to reach a healthier state of mind, and by that to go beyond our own suffering. So it's through them that we can actualize our supreme aim. What is our supreme aim? To have a healthy mind, to be a Buddha. So how can I develop this my supreme aim? Can I do that without others? Can I overcome my own selfishness without having others to love? Actually not. So, everyone that we meet, everyone that we see, they are for us, if we follow our path to enlightenment, far superior than a wish-fulfilling gem. Because it's through the opportunity that they give us to go beyond our own selfishness that we can actually reach that state of well-being that comes from a healthy mind. It's like the story of a Sangha. I told this story so many times, but I'm making it short. A Sangha, after so many years meditating to develop great love, and focusing on Buddha Maitreya, and meditating on the Buddha of love, which is the personification of love, and he was meditating on that for 12 years alone in a cave. Finally, when was the moment that he truly was able to develop that great love? When he was in front of a suffering sentient being. And he was able to truly love that sentient being, independently of whom he or she was, or independently of what he or she was doing. In this case, was with a dog. With a dog. He was in front of the sick dog, and when he saw the sick dog, had so much love for it. And when he went to help the dog, and the dog had many worms into a wound, and he went to take away the worms, and he saw that he had the same love for the worms also. So he needed to find a way how to help the dog and help the worms together, you know. So when was the moment that his heart truly opened? By having someone there who was in need, and by being able to love someone. So that dog and that worms, they were actually far more precious for him than whatever wish-fulfilling tool. We can only develop our own qualities through the relationship with others. We can only develop true love and compassion, and by that overcome our selfishness, which is the main cause of our own suffering, by loving others. And how we love others? By interacting with them. And opening our heart towards them. So, you know, how do we act now? What's the sign of an unhealthy mind? Those that are nice and kind to me are a wish-fulfilling gem. Those that are unkind to me, better to have them far. Right? When we see someone that acts in a way that we don't like, what is our tendency? Put them away. We may even say, oh, poor guy, poor lady, I really wish you to be happy as long as you are far from me. It's easy to have love and compassion, to have compassion of the poor children in a place that is so far from us that we don't see. Because it's an idealized compassion. I want to see it with the people that we interact in our daily life. And sometimes we may give some donations for some poor children in a faraway country, which is something good, it's not bad. But sometimes we may do that in order to feel that we are okay with our own consciousness, because we have an idealized idea of our image of ourselves that we need to be kind. And I am kind because I'm helping them, so this allows me to be indifferent to the suffering of the people that I meet in my daily life. Is this clear? I'm sorry if I am so direct. But these are traps of our path, you know. A danger aspect of our path. We do something which is an automatic payment from our bank account, you know, of an amount that it's not even what we would spend on a dinner. And this somehow fulfills a part of our identity in which we are a kind person, and allows us to act with indifference towards the daily suffering that we see of the people around us. For example, a beggar, or a person that is in difficulty, which is in an immigrant or whatever. So, the point here is, if we really want to have a healthy mind, one of the main issues is overcoming our selfishness. And that's truly hard to do, because it involves every aspect of our daily lives. It's deeply rooted into us. So we need to change it, put an effort constantly to act in an opposite way. And one of them is recognizing that everyone that we meet give us the opportunity to share that love with them. So why every sentient being is far superior than the wish-fulfilling gem? Because it doesn't matter how much I have materially, I cannot be truly happy. But if I overcome my selfishness and develop true love, this will bring me to a state of inner health and to happiness. So, how can I do that? Through others. The conclusion is, selfishly speaking, it's better to be altruistic. And who allows me to do that? Others. So what this is showing us that we need to go beyond the idealized image of being a kind person. And we need actually to be a kind person. I don't know if it's clear the difference. Because, sometimes we may have this idealized image of I need to be a kind person because I am Buddhist, because that was what I was taught, it's good to be a kind person. And actually what we are doing is we are somehow building up our own identity in which, okay, it's better if I am a kind person, and then we do acts of kindness not because truly we want the happiness of the others, but because we want to fulfill the identity of being a kind person. That's a dangerous trap. Because we end up not developing true love, but developing again selfishness. Okay? The last verse of the 8 verses of mind training talks about this trap. In the last verse it says, "To a mind untarnished by stains of conceptions concerning the 8 passing things." Which means, may I do this without having a mind polluted by the 8 mundane concerns, the 8 mundane dharmas. One of them is the attachment to our own image. Actually, 4 of them are connected to the attachment to our own image. So, it's not obvious. But we need to be careful. Sure, it's better to be attached to an identity of being a kind person than attached to the identity of being a selfish person. Finally, it's better. But if we really look sincerely, the true path is that of being a kind person, not that of developing an identity and building up the identity of being a kind person. In other words, we shouldn't care if others see us as a kind person. We should care of taking care of others. Is it clear? So, where do we start to cherish sentient beings as being more precious than a wish-fulfilling gem? There are 3 possibilities. When we are with others that help us and benefit us, when we are with others that are indifferent towards us and we are indifferent towards them, and when we are with others to whom we have aversion and that somehow harm us. But we should start in our daily life. We should really be careful not to act in a way in which we say, oh, I wish every sentient being to be happy. And then as soon as I go out of the Gompa, looks like sentient beings exist somewhere else. He's with every person that we meet. He's with that situations of the people, and not only that, I make one example. which for me is a very clear example of this. Mosquitoes. Okay? We have that little thing making bzzz, and then coming and then biting. And so what? But very often, I saw people reacting saying, yes, I wish every sentient be in love and compassion, but this is too much. So it's easy. I love all as long as they don't harm me. And we are not talking about cutting away our limbs or harming us so much. They're just being a little bit nasty simply because they are looking for food. Because they need to to procreate, because from the mosquitoes are only the females ones that take blood, because they need to procreate. So basically it's not that they wish to harm us and there they are, mean way to do something towards us and we need to protect from that. But what happened? Because they may not allow us to sleep so well, because they may do bite us in a nasty way. Okay, it's different if we are, for example, in a situation where there is malaria. Okay, then we need to protect because this life is precious and we need somehow to protect ourselves. But on a normal basis, we don't have malaria in Italy. And what is the normal tendency? I kill you because you make me feel suffering. And I don't want to suffer, and I don't care about you. If you are nice and cute, then I care about you. But if you are ugly, and if you are nasty, then I don't care about you. We can see this in so many things, you know? Like, there is this other animal that nowadays is full here. I don't know how you call that. It's called cimici in Italian. I don't know how to call it in English. These little bugs that my house is full of these bugs. They don't do anything really, you know, but until you see what they do, you know. And I was looking, and I have full of them, and I let them there. They look for a warm place where to pass the winter. Okay, you know, it's full of these beings there. And then, if you look, it's okay until they don't go beyond the line. When they pass the line, which is they start somehow to harm us, then the attitude changes. And I was looking at myself and say, okay, what is that, you know? And I was somehow careful. So what was the line? Okay, they have a bad smell when they die or somehow they put themselves in a defensive mode. This is no problem, just take care of them with love and care. Or not be careful not to harm them, then you will have no problem of smell. But the problem that happens is that they go around and they make this sort of pee-pee, caca, whatever, that it's brown, and that it stains the cloth and everywhere around. So then, what is more important, the well-being of that little bug, or my curtain that must be nice and clean and white? And when you see that that other little being is doing something that somehow I feel is harming me, the attitude towards the bug changes. It's a clear sign of a sick mind. Of a selfish attitude. Where I am not able to see the other independently of my own needs, of my own suffering and happiness. So what happens? Here we need to make the effort to go beyond it. We need to make the effort not to follow that mind and to take care with care and love. But to do that, we must first be able to see the other, going beyond the relationship that the other have towards the I and the mind. Most of the times, we are not able to see the other. We are only able to see how the other relates towards me. I don't know if this is clear. Okay? So, in order for us truly to be able to love others, anyone, first thing, we need to be able to see that person, to see that animal, to see whoever this being is, beyond the relationship that that being, that person have towards the I and the mind. So, I can reach a state in which I say, I wish you to be happy, I don't want you to suffer truly, and I don't like the way you behave.
That's possible.
This is possible. We can say, okay, I avoid being near to you because the way how you act harms me, but I deeply wish you to be happy. I don't know if it's not contradictory. Okay? But in order truly to be able to do that, on the basis of it, we must first be able to see the other. Secondly, we can see how we relate with the other and what's the relationship that is between us. If it's a relationship of benefit, then we should naturally have attraction. If it's a relationship of harm, we should make distance. But on the basis, what is there? The wish for happiness of the other and the wish for the other to be free from suffering, which means, first of all, we need to be able to see the other. It's not something obvious, it's not something simple, but it's something fundamentally important. Okay? And why we put so much effort in that? Because we want to have a healthy mind. So, whoever we meet, wherever we go, may I see each and every one of them as being more precious towards me than a wish-fulfilling gem, as it's through them that I can actually reach the supreme aim of enlightenment, of a healthy mind. It's towards each and every one. Okay? One exercise that we can do here is, it's difficult to apply this at every moment of our lives, okay? Right away from the beginning. So we can start by at least once a day, minimum. It must be daily. But at least once a day, we look at someone and we try to see that person or that animal or whoever it is, okay? That being. In the beginning, better to do with people, then, because somehow it's easier with animals.
Yes.
Okay, or with bugs that are nasty, we can also do. But we start mainly with people, and we look at someone, and we just try to look at the person beyond the relationship that the person has towards us. Just look at the person and say, there you are, you exist as I do exist. You wish to be happy as I wish to be happy. You don't want to suffer as I don't want to suffer. And there you are, struggling for your own happiness as I am for mine. So there is no much difference between you and me, truly. But we don't even need to go through too many thoughts. We just look at the person and we try to see the person independently of what the person is or is not for us. So we don't take into consideration if the person is beautiful or ugly, if the person is kind or unkind, if the person is harming or unharming, if the person has the same view that we have or has an opposite view that we have. We don't enter into judgment. We simply look at a person, take into consideration his presence and existence. Then we take that deep feeling that we have of wanting to be happy and not wanting to suffer, and we share it. So we concentrate, we first recognize it within us, and then we share it with that person until it comes out, the word, I love you, I wish you to be happy, may you not suffer. Until we feel that we have attraction towards the happiness of the other person and we have aversion towards the suffering of the other person. Because sometimes to use words is danger. Because if we just say, I love you, then it becomes just conceptual at a certain point. I look at you and I say, I love you. Okay, next month. No, we need to look at the other and allow ourselves to feel truly attraction towards their happiness, which is the true meaning of love, and aversion towards their suffering, which is the true meaning of compassion. So, if we do this once a day, it may take a few minutes to allow us to see the other and to share this deep feeling of love and compassion. From us, we open it and we share it with others, with one person. We should not start training ourselves in love and compassion in a generalized way towards all sentient beings. We should start with individuals. One a day, then two, then three. Then we get to the little bug. Then we look at whoever, and then we enter in contact, and then we do this exercise of seeing the other, connecting to our own deep wish of being happy and not suffering, that own attraction towards happiness and aversion towards suffering, and then we share it with the other until we can feel within ourselves the attraction towards the happiness of that person and the aversion towards the suffering of that person. Okay. By doing that, we are actually training ourselves. If we wait for these thoughts to come spontaneously, forget about it. Because we are constantly training ourselves in selfishness. By the way how we act. So we need to start on purpose to act in an opposite way. Okay? But there is one very important aspect in all of this. It must be done in total secrecy. Secret way. We cannot go around to others saying, oh, I am training myself in love and compassion, and I look at that person today, and I was able to feel love for him. So nice it is. And deep inside we are thinking, oh, look how special I am. And we try to build up that identity of being a kind person. No. We should not get attached to the identity that I must be a kind person practicing Lojong or whatever. So we do this in secrecy. These teachings actually, they were kept secret for a long time. And people didn't know who were the practitioners. Because there is a real danger. If we go beyond it, and somehow we get attached to the identity of being a kind, good person, then we may go through a whole path and miss it. Because the idea is not developing an image of who we are. The idea is opening our heart. Okay, so let's go through one more verse. Because the first attitude is cherish others and see how precious they are for us. It's like when we meet someone, we may feel that they are important because they allow us to develop an open heart. They allow us to go beyond our own selfishness. They allow us to reach a state of health, of well-being. It is said, if we put on a scale, the kindness of our gurus and the kindness of all the Buddhas that guides us on through the path to enlightenment and guides and teaches us. And on the other side, we put the kindness of sentient beings. They have the same weight. Because on our path, we depend on both. We do not depend more on the Buddhas and less on the sentient beings. Because it's impossible to grow within our path without developing true love. And to develop true love, we need someone to love. We need others. Where do we practice generosity? With others. Where do we practice patience? With others. Where do we practice morality in relation with others? Where do we, who allows us to accumulate merits, to accumulate positive energy? Others, by allowing us to share with them and to give to them. Who allows us to develop love and compassion? Others. So, without sentient beings, actually there is nothing that we can do ourselves, alone. If we try to develop our own path to enlightenment, our own path to a healthy state of mind, just by ourselves, it's impossible. We depend on others. Not on the actions and choices of others. We depend on the relationship that we build up with them. I don't know if it's clear, this difference. And on the other side, there is another aspect also here which I just remembered, which is when we have true gratitude towards our gurus and we have true gratitude towards the holy beings and respect and so on, and we put ourselves into the service, for example, of one's own guru, and we put ourselves into the service of the Buddhas and the holy beings, whatever. Okay? So I said, I have deep gratitude towards my guru and I am in your service. No. So whatever you tell me to do, I will do. Whatever you ask from me, I will follow. I will do anything. Please tell me what I can do. And I will do it. But actually, imagine the following. I go and I have my boss. Okay? So I follow the orders that I receive and I need to fulfill the jobs that are given to me. But my boss has a boss and he has his own objectives. So how do I fulfill the needs of my boss? By fulfilling his needs, right? By helping him in his actions. So if we use this metaphor, our boss, let's say our guru, let's say the Buddha, which is his main goal? Who is he serving? Who is the boss of the Buddhas? Sentient beings. That's who they are serving. We don't need to look far away. Look at the Bodhisattvas, look at Rinpoche. No. They are in service of others. So if we want to be in service of them, what's the best way? By being in the service of others. So actually, when we put ourselves into the service of any sentient being, we are making at the same time an act of compassion, and it's also an offering to our gurus and an offering to the Buddhas. Because we are helping them to fulfill their aims and to fulfill their responsibilities and their goals. Okay. I think is it clear, this aspect? So whenever we see a sentient being in front of us, it's not only an opportunity for us to develop our qualities, it's also an opportunity for us to fulfill the goals of our gurus and to make an offering to all the Buddhas. It's an incredible opportunity. But the difficulty is what? That we need to generate this deep within ourselves. And we can only do that by creating the habit in our daily life with small actions. Okay, let's go to the next verse. Kandu Suda dropetse danyi gönle menta shin shela sampa takpai chok to cheber zimbra sho. As we go through, it gets more difficult, okay? It's okay. One important thing of these verses, what they say here is not something that we must be able to realize right away. It's the direction of our training. So the next verse says, whenever I come into anyone's company, may I regard myself less than everyone else, and from the depth of my heart, value others more highly than I do myself. Kanto, sudan dropetse, wherever I am, with whoever I am, may I see myself as being lower. What's the meaning of this? It doesn't mean to see ourselves as being inferior to others. But basically it means to stop comparing ourselves with others. Because the problem is that we constantly have the attitude of comparing ourselves with others. Or I am more, or I am less, and we act with competition to the equal, arrogance towards the ones that have less, envy towards the ones that have more. So we need to be able to go beyond that. So, instead of seeing ourselves with superiority, we need to see ourselves through an attitude of humbleness. And humbleness is not inferiority. Okay? Because the attitude of being inferior means that we compare ourselves with others. Humbleness, it means when we are well with ourselves and we have no need to compare ourselves with others. So we don't feel superior to anyone. Is it clear the difference? Okay? Because if we must be inferior, the more we feel inferior to someone, the more we will feel superior to someone else. Okay? It goes together. And we can see very well, people that normally feel very much inferior, as soon as they have the possibility to be superior, they will act in that way. It's actually very strong, this relationship. So, wherever we go, with whoever we are, we should not look at others by comparing ourselves with them and seeing ourselves as being superior to them. Okay? How do we feel superior to others normally? By comparing qualities that we have and the others have not. Or by seeing the faults and the suffering and the negative aspect of others. So basically, what are aspects of this attitude? Oh, poor guy, look how he is. How fortunate I am that I have that. Even sometimes in nice words we manifest this. Or sometimes we go to somewhere and we see a person, then we start looking and say, oh, look how he did that and how he's bad on that. We start criticizing and we start looking at the faults and looking at the defects of others. This is a way of bringing ourselves with superiority. Or sometimes we just say, oh, look how better I am than him, look how beautiful I am, how rich I am, or this and that. And we don't even need to verbalize it often. It's an attitude that we have. Okay? And actually arrogance is one of the aspects, again, arrogance is a strong sign of an unhealthy mind. It's a different thing of being, of having, self-confidence and being arrogant. It's two different things. One thing is when I have a good self-esteem and self-confidence. I recognize my qualities, I feel safe with myself, I feel that I am well, I am on the right path, I am stable. And I don't need to have the recognition of others to feel well. I don't need to compare myself with others to feel fulfilled. I have a good self-esteem. Another thing is to feel superior to others. Another thing is that in order to feel safe and to secure, I need to compare myself with the other and see that I am better than you because of this or that. Okay? These are actually two very different attitudes. Okay? So, we should have a very good self-esteem. And it's this self-esteem that allows us not to act in a selfish way, not to act in an arrogant way. Because the manifestation of arrogance is a sign of the lack of self-esteem. Because when I act as showing myself as being superior to the other, it means I cannot fulfill my identity simply by myself. I need to compare myself with someone that I see being lower than me. I don't know if it's clear, this process. So, within that, wherever we go, whoever we meet, we should put an effort not to act with arrogance towards them. And the key for that is to stop comparing ourselves. Again, we go back to the same part as before. We need to see others without comparing them with us. This is also the base for loving them. Okay, is it easy? No. We compare the way people are dressed. We judge by the way how they look, by the color of their skin. We judge people by the way how they manifest in society. I saw this with myself one time so clearly. One example. Better to give examples of one's own self. No? Many years ago, I was in Nepal. I think I was around my 15, 16 years old, I was more or less. And I was in one pizza place called Fire and Ice, which at the time was the only place in the whole of Nepal that I knew at least, where you could have a real Western taste food. Really good pizza. And so I was living in India, and whenever I would go to Nepal, that was the favorite place to go. No attachment to one's own food and taste. Anyhow, I was there one time having lunch. I was alone, and I was having a pizza. Well, okay, nicely. And then on the table in front of me, maybe 2 tables in front of me, I saw 2 men, 2 gentlemen. They were there. One had a very Western face, the other one had a very Oriental, like Japanese face. And they were all wearing jackets and tie, which is not so common so much in Kathmandu to see like this, but like looked like they came from an office building in the middle of London or wherever, okay, like perfectly dressed. And there they were having pizza in Kathmandu, like with this very Western style, like office type of businessman style. No? So they were very well dressed like this, and they were talking, and then I looked at them, and I had this most terrible thought, which was, poor people, you know. Look at them, trapped in mundane things. You know? And I had for me it was very clear, an attitude of arrogance towards them. The arrogance in which, because of their appearance, I never met them, I never talked to them, I don't know what is going in their mind. I felt superior to them. Because I felt that I have a spiritual path and they don't, when I even don't know them. Okay? By how they appear, by preconcepts that I have. So while I was having that thought, I'm very grateful to one bee that came.
A bee?
A bee.
Yes.
So came a bee, and the bee started flying around me. And when the bee came near to me, I was a little afraid, and I tried to put the bee away, and I was moving, I was disturbed by the bee. Then the bee went away, and it went to these two men. And when the bee arrived near the two men, they were perfectly stable, naturally talking to each other, not moving 1 centimeter because of the bee. You know? And then I looked, and this made me the thought, who am I to judge who they are? Who am I to say what are their qualities or what are not their qualities? You know? And this was a very important teaching for me at that moment, to say, well, look at this, you know. So there I was, feeling superior towards them because of a preconcept that I have. But truly we don't know who we have in front of us. But we normally judge others and we feel superior to others by the way how they appear, the way how they talk, the way how they act, without even knowing them. I give another 2 examples. One, the very, very similar example. One happened in Tibet, the other one happened in India a few years ago. Okay, maybe the one in India is enough because they're very similar. Very few, maybe 2-3 years ago, no longer than that, there was a monk in south of India, in the monastery of Serpon. And he has always been a worker in the monastery. And he was never a teacher. He was never the example of a monk that had great qualities of spiritual qualities, of Dharma. He was always a worker. And he even, from some people would call him Dimakara, which means like the crazy one. Like, okay, he doesn't have his head on the right place, you know. Oh, little crazy one. And he was treated with some respect because he was all elder, and in the monastery still there is this strong sense of respect for the elder. But at the same time there was not so much that respect because he was not a good teacher, he was not someone that did the good career in the monastic system of becoming geshes and whatever, having his degrees. He was just a hard-working monk. Simple, humble, making jokes, nice attitude. But he was there, and he was not much respected and venerated by anyone actually. Then one day, as will happen to everyone, he passed away. And everyone was in shock. Because he entered into a deep meditative state in the process of death. How do we know if this happens? When a person enters into a meditative state in the process of death, which we call the meditation into clear light, which is one of the very clear signs of a very high level of spiritual realization, the person is dead, which means no more breathing, no more heartbeat, but around the area of the chest it remains warm, and the person doesn't lose the, the brightness of the face.
Color.
The color also doesn't change, but normally when you look to a person, between the moment the person is alive and when it's actually dead, there is some sort of brightness in the face, there is some sort of light that somehow it loses. It's a shining that is there, okay? So when the person is in this deep meditative state, the person doesn't lose that shining, and the body doesn't go into decomposition, and remains heat like a warm fit in the position of the heart. Okay? Normally great masters stay in this state maybe for 12 hours, 1 day, 3 days, longer 1 week, normal way. Okay? This monk, when he died, he stayed in this state for 4 weeks. You know? So all the monks were coming to his place where he was there, making offering, and like everybody was in shock, because everybody was used to see him as the one that was not able to fulfill anything, as a good monk, a good man, a worker, but that's all, you know. And suddenly, in his death, he was showing to everyone that he was one of the best practitioners that have ever been in the monastery since ever. You know? And everybody was in shock. Happened the same thing also in Tibet when my teacher was small. Very similar thing also. So, what this is showing us, we never know who we have in front of us. Truly. We never know. All that we know is that based on our judgment, that our judgment is based on our preconcepts and our own selfishness. So, wherever we go, with whoever we are, we should treat everyone with respect, with kindness, and without arrogance. So, how to do that? By not comparing ourselves with them, and by not entering into preconcepts within ourselves. Okay? That's why it says, whenever I come into anyone's company, wherever I go, with whoever I am, may I regard myself less than everyone else. May I not compare myself with them. And from the depths of my heart, value others, value them more highly than I do to myself. Okay? So may I value others as I value myself. May I give importance to them. May I see them as precious. Again, a sign of a healthy mind is the ability to value others, to respect each one, and to not enter into judgments which are conceived judgments. Okay? So, it's difficult to do that. Okay? The example I gave of these two men I saw in the restaurant in Kathmandu, this repeats every day in our lives. By the way how we see people wearing clothes, by the way that we see actions, by the religion they follow, or the fact that they don't follow a religion, by the way they talk, by so many things we are constantly judging others. And we are constantly into this game of feeling superior or putting others as inferior. So this is the second thing that we should change. First one is learn to see others. And by that, see them as precious. Second, do not enter into preconceived judgment. Do not see yourself as being superior to them by comparing yourself in whatever way. Okay. Actually, we could close the book here and come back next year. Okay. And say, okay, I have enough for a whole year at least, or maybe for 5 years of practice, you know. This is not something that we are supposed to realize in a day. This is not something that we are supposed to realize in a month. This is something that is here for lifetimes. But we can only realize it in lifetimes once we bring it to our daily life. There's no other way around. There's no such a thing like, okay, from now on, and I am Buddhist, then the clock starts ticking, and after some time I will be a Buddha. Because I think some people think like that. Because some people say, oh, I am in Buddhism for 30 years. And so what? Oh, I have been a Buddhist for the past 40 years of my life. Okay, and then what, you know? This doesn't make you, and even worse. Sometimes we may feel superior because I am Buddhist for 40 years and you are Buddhist only for 4 months. And why does that make me better than you? And why does that mean that I have more compassion or more love or more qualities than you? Something that we need to be careful. The worst type of arrogance that I have seen up to today is the spiritual arrogance. For me, this was very clear and this was my judgment also. So somehow was my arrogance seeing others as arrogant, but when I was one time in Israel, and I was part of an interreligious meeting called the Jubileum for the year 2000. And the highest representatives of religions were there, from Christian to Muslim and Jewish and Hindu and Buddhist. This honest, the Dalai Lama was there. We had like all sorts of important people. And something that I was somehow shocked myself, not shocked, but I was not well, which again, I repeat, that's my own judgment, so also my own pride there, was when I was looking in between the sessions of these meetings and talks and conferences, two things. One thing is, in the conferences, it looks like people talk for themselves. And the other thing is, in between the sessions, I would see each one of these religious figures from all religions look the same. Important people, each one dressed in their nice clothes, with their nice hat, and so on, walking with their own entourage, and not being able to look at each other's eyes. Not being able just to sit and say, okay, here we are human beings together, you know. This was my feeling. Then I look at my own self, and I really saw that the worst type of arrogance is when I feel superior to you because I am spiritual and you are not. Or because my spiritual path is the correct one and yours is wrong. So we need to be very careful because it's very tricky. Truly, it's very tricky. There was one Italian actor called Roberto Benigni. In one beautiful, exposition he gave a commentary on the Divine Comedy of Dante. No? He gave this commentary in Firenze. It was very beautiful. At one moment he says, the most difficult of all virtues is humbleness, because it's enough to think you are humble not to be anymore. So, in this way, it's not a matter of seeing ourselves as humble. It's a matter of not comparing ourselves with others. In the moment we compare ourselves with others, it automatically blocks the possibility to be humble. Why do we compare ourselves with others? Because we don't have a good self-esteem. Because we feel the need to see ourselves based on the comparison with others. How good I am, how rich I am, how powerful I am, how beautiful I am, how humble I am, how intelligent I am, how successful I am. We reach that parameters by comparing ourselves with others. So, instead, when we stop comparing ourselves with others, we naturally will have the need to develop an inner state of satisfaction, of self-esteem with our own self-satisfaction of ourselves, in which we recognize what the qualities that we want to develop, we recognize the aspects that we want to abandon, we rejoice of the good things that we have, and we have no need of the other one to allow us to see who we are or what we are. It's difficult, I know. Okay? It's something that is not simple, but it's possible. And I don't know, it's a little bit like the question of who comes first, the egg or the chicken. In the sense of who comes first. Not comparing ourselves with others, of having a true good self-esteem. You know? The two things goes together. But because we are in the middle of this aspect of not having a self-esteem that is good enough and needing to compare ourselves with others in order to fill our own selves. We need to start at least by changing the behavior with some attitudes, some moments, and some situations during our daily life. So wherever we go, let's change the second verse. Whenever I come into anyone's company, no, we just change it little bits. Once a day, when I come into the company of someone, may I not compare myself with others and act with humbleness and respect. We start with once a day. Then after that we will get to twice, 3 times, and then finally we get to the final goal, that is with whoever I am, whenever. I don't see myself as being superior. I do not compare myself with others. And one attitude that we must try to change in order to make it possible is the attitude of talking about others' faults in order to feel ourselves better. Because that's what happens most of the times. Of criticizing others. Because really, if we look deeply within ourselves and we say, why do I criticize others? To be a constructive criticism? Because I want to help them, so by recognizing their faults, I can see where I can help them better? Why do I talk about others' faults? Because by talking about the faults and suffering of others, I develop more compassion and I can see the best way to help them? Or I talk about the faults of others as a way somehow to feel that I am not that bad and somehow I am superior. Maybe I don't do that consciously, but that's the mechanism most of the times. So, what we do, we start taking care of our speech. Not criticizing others, not talking about others' faults, not judging others in a preconceived way. And from our own inner attitude, make effort not to compare ourselves with others. And on the other side, we say, I am what I am, and I am on my own path. The fact that others, in one of the texts of the Lojong, it says, I will relate myself with others in the same way, independently of what they talk about, what they think, or what they say to me. If they think I am a Buddha, that won't make me a Buddha. If they think I am a devil, that won't make me a devil. So I will have no attraction towards that praise me, and no aversion towards that criticize me. Because the fact of them praising me would not make me better, and the fact of them criticizing me would not make me worse. So I will have not attraction to those that are praising me, and I will have no aversion towards those that criticize me. How do we act normally? Someone praises us, we are so happy and we have attraction. Someone criticizes us, we are unhappy and we criticize them and we have aversion. But the praise will not make us better and the criticism will not make us worse. Normally the criticism may help us to make us better. But again, just sticking back to the second verse. Wherever we go, whoever we meet, I will not act in a way of arrogance. I will not compare myself with others. I will treat them with respect and with kindness. Okay? Here, we are talking about a process of training ourselves. This is training. This is not just conceptual idea. So, we need to repeat the action, and every day we go there, and then we train ourselves, and it's not easy. One thing which I said yesterday, and I'd like to repeat again, the path towards the training ourselves towards having a healthy mind, it's not easy. But to continue in an unhealthy, selfish way. It may be easy because it doesn't take so much effort, either no effort at all, but the consequences are very difficult. So what takes more energy? Actually, continue in an unhealthy way. So we have here 2 points, which is for lifetime. Whoever we meet, wherever we go, let's cherish all sentient beings. By seeing them, by being able to look at them independently of who they are, what they do, what they don't do. And share the deep wish of happiness that we have towards ourselves, towards them, and being able to have attraction towards their happiness and have aversion towards their suffering. And second, do not compare oneself with others, act with humbleness, not with superiority, not with arrogance. Okay. So we will conclude here for today. Okay, that's more than enough for one lifetime. But so for one day it's also enough. And then we'll continue. Just to finish, I will just read the whole 8 verses once. Then we will do that every day, okay? Those that like can read with me also. May I cherish all limited beings by considering how far superior they are to wish-granting gems for actualizing the supreme aim. Whenever I come into anyone's company, may I regard myself less than everyone else, and from the depths of my heart, value others more highly than I do myself. Whatever I am doing, may I check the flow of my mind, and the moment the conceptions or disturbing emotions arise, since they debilitate myself and others, may I confront and avert them with forceful means. Whenever I see beings instinctively cruel, whenever I see beings instinctively cruel, overpowered by negativities and serious problems, may I cherish them as difficult to find as discovering a treasure of chance. When others, out of envy, treat me unfairly, with scolding, insults, and more, may I accept the loss upon myself and offer the victory to others. Even if someone whom I have helped and from whom I harbor great expectations were to harm me completely unfairly, may I view him or her as a hallowed teacher. In short, may I offer to all my mothers, both actually and indirectly, whatever will benefit and bring them joy, and may I hiddenly accept upon myself all my mother's troubles and woes. Through a mind untarnished by stains of conceptions concerning 8 passing things, throughout all of this, and that knows all phenomena as an illusion, may I break free from my bondage without any clinging. Jetsun lame kutse ratenshi namkaratile chokyu gepala losam tempe drome sasungi drove munse tatune gyushi chanchu semcho rinpoche make panam ke gyurchi Kepa nyamba me paya, kone kontu ferwa shu, nimo dele sendele, nime kuyan dele shin, nitsen taktu dele pre, koncho sungi jingilo, koncho sungi modruso, Monjo Sungi Dashishu. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. all'alba o al tramonto, di notte o durante il giorno, possano i tre gioielli concederci le loro benedizioni, possano aiutarci ad ottenere tutte le realizzazioni e cospargere il sentiero della nostra vita con molti segni di buon auspicio. Oma Huntemba Lame Sangye Rinpoche, Kyoba Lame Tamcho Rinpoche, Tremba Lame Kendo Rinpoche, Chiame Concio Sumla Chopa. Buon appetito!